Hey, welcome to the Lifestyle Creation Podcast, designing life on your terms. I'm your host, Jamie Thurber, and I'm an expert operations manager, productivity queen, mindset, business, and lifestyle coach. Basically, getting shit done is my jam. And I believe in the power of intentional living and in real conversations that can shift your perspective, create habits, and ultimately achieve the freedom that you want in every area of your life. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I am full of energy today, so I'm going to do my best not to talk too fast. It's a struggle sometimes for me. But wherever you are, do me a big favor. Take a big deep breath and drop your shoulders. And exhale. Drop those shoulders. Let go of some of that tension. Got it? Okay, good. So this topic I'm pretty stoked about sharing with you. It's come up in a couple conversations lately to the point where I'm like, yep, I hear you, universe. We need to talk about it. I got it. So I'm going to start by saying that this one I feel like is like a duh. Like people think, oh, duh, of course. But it's like, no. Now that once you hear it, you're going to notice places that you do this or other people do this. So basically the whole overarching topic is going to be don't apologize for being successful. And here's a good example of what I mean. There's instances, so a story was told to me yesterday by a client about how she made a phone call to a baker looking for somebody to make a cake for her for a party or something. And he was booked up for several months, and he kept apologizing to her over and over again. He'd be, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I can't accommodate you. I can't help. And she thought to herself, and she said, and it was a Jamie moment. And I'm like, I love these, where she said, wait a minute, like, stop apologizing for being successful. Like, that's great that you're booked up. It's totally fine. And in that moment, he said to her, you wouldn't believe how many people get mad at me for being booked out and are rude to me for being booked out. So let's talk about that for a second. Because this is more common than you realize. So either this happens to you or you've done this. I'm not judging anyone. What I'm saying is let's be mindful and continue. Please stay in this conversation with me so we can all expand our horizons a little bit. If you call somebody and they're booked, they're full, they can't fit you in, why would you be mad at them for that? Why would that make you upset? Think about it. And there's a few responses to that. First of all, your lack of planning is no one else's emergency. Or that doesn't mean, okay, so what? I should have ordered my kid's cake like 4 months ago? Maybe not. But the fact that the person's booked up and doesn't have space to make you, basically the person doesn't have space to be at your beck and call isn't something to be mad about. You call someone else, right? But this happens more frequently in situations where it is a last minute thing and it is something that could have been done more proactively. And then the person gets angry at the service provider for not having availability. Or, you call your friend and are like, come on, let's go meet for drinks tonight. And your friend's like, oh man, I already have plans. Like, I can't tonight. What about a couple nights from now? Oh man, whatever. Like, you're never available, blah, blah, blah. Like, and you give them grief. It's like, what the fuck? Like, when did that become okay? And unfortunately, it's a thing in our world where people do this. They get upset if their availability doesn't match your desires. And the truth is like, how ass backwards is that? If you think about it, right? Like, it's not, who are we to demand that someone else is available to us the moment that we need them? Like, who are we to think that we are so fucking entitled that we have the, stance or ability to demand the baker to extend his hours to make our cake? This happens in a lot of my hairstylist clients all the time. Well, you can't just fit me in. Come on. When people forget to make their appointments, or they have a wedding, or they have an event and they need to get their, hair dyed or whatever. And you can't just fit me in. Come on. I bet you can. And it's like, no. How insanely disrespectful and rude is it to be mad at somebody when they don't have availability, and to ask them to change their schedule and upheave basically their boundaries because you need something. Like, the audacity of all the things that I'm saying right now are just insane. Like, you should see my face. It's like, what the hell, right? But it happens across the board. It happens with customers. It happens with friends, family members. It happens with employees. It happens everywhere. And it's like, dude, we have got to stop thinking that everyone owes us something in this way, that everybody owes us their time. Our time, like, let me break something down for you. Your time is your most precious commodity. End of story. The more people who start to recognize that and respect their own time and then respect other people's time, the better life will be. Seriously. Because that's the one thing you can't buy, you can't get back, you can't, like, the way you choose to spend your time should be very intentional. It should be serving of what you're wanting, and it should be something that you respect from other people on what they choose to do with their time, because it's not your decision, right? Well, he spends so much time doing X, Y, Z. That's his fucking prerogative, right? Like, he spends that much time working out or watching video or playing video games or whatever. Well, that's his prerogative, right? Like, who are you to tell somebody how they should be spending their time? And then granted, those conversations obviously have other legs to them and whatever, and that can be dove deeper into in different ways. But the thought of the fact that we are so, as a society, feel so fucking inclined to tell other people what they should and shouldn't be doing with their time, when they should be available for us, how they should blah, 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 is crazy. So, first of all, if you're doing that, please stop. Please don't do this to people. It is fucked up. There's no other way to put it. It is so messed up in so many ways. And if people are doing it to you, stop apologizing. You have nothing to apologize for. You have nothing to apologize for. You have nothing to apologize for. You only have the availability that you have. You can't make more hours in the day. Trust me, I wish that I could tell you that we can. There are other podcasts we have recorded here that talk about making the most of your time, respecting your time, ways to, maneuver your time in ways that makes it feel like you have more. And that's all very valid. But in this capacity or in this instance, it's like we can't expect people to bend simply because we need something. And it's become all too normal, air quotes, normal in our world. And I was telling my members of my group, we were kind of having a similar part of this conversation the other day. And I said, all I can say is, even if it's just the handful of us that now understand this and then choose to be different, or choose to say to the baker, hey, it's okay. Why are you apologizing? Don't apologize for being successful. You know how impactful that probably was when she said that to him? Like, when we can be those people that, number one, don't act this way, number two, point out that it's like, hey, don't apologize for being successful. That's great. I will call somebody else. I'll try to get to you, let you know more in advance next time. Like, why wouldn't people be that way? It just boggles my mind. But so the more that we can show up and be different in these ways, the better off, everything's going to be basically. But the more we're able to create, impact in that way. Another example, and I feel like a lot of times, so let me preface this. I feel like a lot of times when somebody is expecting you to bend over backwards or, manipulate your time or disrupt your day or whatever in order to do something that they need, there is either some sort of an emergency there, or there's something potentially not so of integrity involved, right? So example, the other day I was listening to a conversation that my boyfriend was having with somebody who called asking him to do a job. And basically they were wanting him, and this was like late at night actually that this person called requesting this, later in the evening. They had messed up something on a job and they didn't want the client to know. So they wanted him to be there first thing the next morning to fix the thing quietly so no one else knew. The dude got rude as fuck too when Tony was like, our whole morning's booked out. Like, I can't do it in the morning. You know, I could do it at this point or like whatever, later in the day or whatever. And the guy's like, no, that doesn't work for me. Like, I really need you to make it happen that you can be here in the morning. And he's like, listen, buddy, like, I can't make that happen. And I'm not going to make that happen because of an instance or like, you know, a situation that you've put yourself in. I'm not going to make that happen based upon your emergency or your mistake. I can't. I have a crew of people already set up where they're going to go and people in line before you. And you should have heard like the disbelief in this person's voice. So Tony speaks on everything on speakerphone. That's why I know all this about the conversation, because I heard both sides. But you should have heard the disbelief in this guy's voice that he wasn't willing to completely restructure his entire day with multiple employees and multiple other customers in order to get there and fix his own mess up, like the client's mess up. It was astonishing. And I know that this happens in his world a lot, where somebody's like, okay, I need you to fix, so he fixes windshields, right? I need you to, or replaces windshields. Hey, I need you to do this. Can you come right now? And he's like, what? Like, in what world do you think I can come right now to fix your windshield? Well, sure, there's Safe Light that sometimes, but even they can't come right now and do it. Safe Lights, don't get me started, is a whole nother ballgame, right? The way that he does business and he doesn't even like to do the general public. We don't do much of work for them because of these types of things, but it's crazy how people feel so entitled to you stopping what you're doing or disrupting your entire plan or giving them something at cost. Or it's crazy the things that you hear people say in to a service-based business. And I just feel like it needed to be talked about here, because I think that we try to finagle things out of people, not realizing that there's a lot of people I should say that try to finagle things out of people, not realizing how disrespectful that is. You know, just like there's a whole nother conversation around the fact that like you see that your friend makes a living fixing cars and you expect him to fix your car all of the time for free, right? Or you see that your friend makes a living coaching people, but yet you want to get access to their programs or talk to them weekly to get advice, you know, ask them structure questions, and never are willing to pay for their time. It's so crazy and very disrespectful. There's a difference between somebody saying, hey, yeah, it's cool, bring your Jeep over, you know, like I'll look at that thing for you real quick. It's not a big deal. And you're hanging out and he spends, 15 minutes and fixes something. And he's like, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. That's different. You know, there's a difference between that and being like, hey, my shit broke down. Like, I need you to do, and it's like a big job. And then you expect them to just like drop whatever they're doing all the time to help you. And that is what friends do. But I think that it's wrong for us to have these expectations around that and then get resentful or even kind of hurt if they can't adhere to what we need. And it's like, well, that's what automotive shops are for. Like, go in there where they have multiple mechanics and this is what they do for a living, where they take in cars and fix them every day. That's the way it works, you know? Here's a really good example. So Tony gets his hair cut by the same girl who does my hair. And I've known her since high school. And she's awesome. And she takes great care of me in like so many ways. It's amazing. Well, he started getting his hair cut by her because he's weird about his hair, as far as like he doesn't like to wear a cape. He doesn't want you to wash his hair. He just wants you to cut it and be done, right? So she's quick and does that. And it works with his schedule. She takes care of him. It's great. Well, a couple weeks ago, we had a death in our family and he had to attend an event where he needed to wear a suit and whatever, and his hair was wild. Like, he looked crazy. And so he made an appointment with her to get his hair cut and missed the appointment. of course, she's amazing, and she's like texting him saying, you know what, if you can show up in the next this many minutes, like I can still take you. But if you're after this minute, my next appointment will be here, and I can't do it. I'm so sorry. And he was like, oh my God, no, it's my fault. Like, I apologize that I missed the appointment. Well, he needed his haircut by the next day. So instead of being like, oh, hey, can you maneuver your entire world and your business hours and your other clients around so that you can cut my hair before I have to attend this event tomorrow? Instead, he went to someone else to get his haircut at like a quick little haircut place this one time, because his lack of planning should not be our hairstylist's issue. His lack of planning should not be her emergency. Do you see what I'm saying here? Like, I hope this is starting to make more sense. And I think that the more we can break this taboo, like, mold that people are, taking on as their right or whatever, the more we can stop that, the better off we will all be. But the more just identifying the conversation, I think, is what's so important. And also, like, for those of you who are busy, who are successful, who do have a schedule, who are keeping their schedule, who do want to please people, right, and help their customers, but, I should say, and also don't have the availability. I know many of my clients that they're not available for services, like they're booked out 3 months. Guess what? Their clients know that. So if they want to make sure they get the spot they want, they book in advance because they've taught them that. And they're not apologizing for the fact that they're booked out because they're really good at what they do. But I'll tell you what, it took a while to grow that skin. It took a while to become okay with that, because we do want, especially when you do, provide a service for people, you want to help that person, right? Like, ideally, you're wanting to help them. And so we sometimes feel guilty or like wrong. And it takes a while to build up that skin and to hold true to your boundary and what you know to be true, and say, you know what, that doesn't mean that you're rude. That doesn't mean that you love that person or that client any less. It's just like, this is the way that it is. And I'm not going to apologize for the way that my business and life needs to run in order for me to continue to be successful. You asking somebody to like fit you in, air quotes again, could be the difference between them putting their daughter to bed. Like, they follow their regular schedule and they're off at whatever time they're supposed to be off. They're home to put their kid to bed. They quote unquote fit you in. Their baby's asleep before they get home. Like, that's the part that we don't think about. So I'm going to bring it home with that, guys. You don't realize the sacrifices that people make when you put them in like a tough situation like that, where you're like, can't you just fit me in? Come on. It's not that big of a deal. You don't realize the gravity on the other side of that one thing that to you isn't a big deal could really be affecting. And now what if that person did that every single week because they felt bad and they're not spending time with their family? You know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot involved that we don't realize. Or, like for me, example, personally, if people are like, can't you just fit this call in the middle of these 2 other calls? And I'm like, no. And they're like, what do you mean no? I have to eat. Like, I have to eat several times in the middle of the day or I get really fucking sick. And it completely depletes my ability to continue working. Okay? So I used to back to back calls. I'd have 5 minutes, 10 minutes in between, sometimes 30 minutes. But even that's not enough, because I get up, I'm finishing what I'm doing, I use the bathroom, I cook some food. Like, it's not enough. I need an hour in most cases. And I learned that the hard way. But it's like, so you asking me to fit you in, to squeeze you in, would determine me feeling literally like death for the rest of the day. But you don't know that. And I don't need to tell you that, because it's not your fucking business. The reasoning why I'm not available at 1:00 today is not your business. The reason why your hairstylist is off at 4:00, which means she's going to get her kids and she's got to go to therapy or a doctor's appointment. The reason that she needs to be done and her business day ends at 4:00 is none of your business. And it shouldn't matter. People shouldn't have to justify their hours and the way that they schedule things and their availability. Not only should they not have to apologize, but you also should not have to justify your behavior, your time, your hours in order for other people to be more understanding. Like, that has to fucking stop, you guys. Like, it has to stop. So, I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm going to ask you for one favor right now. Everybody who's listening, please. I would assume that if you're still listening to this, that you agree that this has got to be less of a thing, less of a normal behavior for people. So what I ask you to do is share this episode with somebody. It's pretty short, right? It's pretty short and sweet. It's pretty short and sweet. I ask you to share this with somebody, whether you share it with your audience online and you give them the link and tell them to check it out, or you just text it to a friend. Let's get this in front of as many people as we can, because this is how we create massive ripple effects. So that's my ask of you today. I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate you for listening and for having open hearts and open minds and open ears to even have these kinds of conversations with me. As always, if you have any questions or any feedback, feel free to email me directly. My email is listed below in the show notes here. And just thank you for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and I'll see you next time.